Hello everyone! Today we're taking a look at the Anbernic 35XX Plus. It's the new cost-benefit emulator handheld from Anbernic. The carrying case is pretty solid and well made. And this is everything you'll get in the box. You have a USB cable, a manual, and a screen protector which I already applied. The face buttons on this device are pretty good. They don't sink too flat with the shell and they have a nice resistance. But as weird as it seems, the start and select buttons sink flat with the shell. And this alone makes these buttons feel very weird. But it's only these two buttons. The Dpad has rubber membranes and it feels very nice. On the bottom you have a USB Type-C port for charging and a headphone jack. On the side you have slots for two SD cards, one for the system and one for the games. And there is a power and a reset button. On the back of the console, the shutter buttons are angled. This makes the console more comfortable because it follows the angles of your fingers. And these buttons have clicky mechanical switches. Also, they rattle quite a lot in the shell. On the top you have two LEDs and the HDMI out port. And finally on the other side, the volume buttons. The battery on this console is now removable, which is super convenient if you ever need to replace it. One of the big downsides of this console is that the screen is curved, and because of that the screen protector won't fit correctly. There will be a lot of bubbles on the sides and you can't remove them. And honestly, this sucks. It ruins the visual of the console and it's just not pleasant to see. When the screen is turned on, you can't see it as much, but if you shine a light over it, the bubbles will be there. This is the same problem of the RG Nano. I even got a glass screen protector for it, but the bubbles makes it look awful. This won't happen on the 353B because it has a flat screen, which is much better. And even the earlier version, the 35XX standard, looked way better. The screen size and resolution is the same of the 353B. And the boot time is on the middle term. The main menu is very simple and straightforward. And the first thing you want to do is remove this annoying button sound. I jumped straight to the Dpad test, and as always, the quality is amazing. Anbernic knows how to make responsive Dpads. And surprisingly, this device has a rumble motor. And I think that from the consoles that it emulates, only PlayStation 1 and Nintendo 64 supports Rumble. You can also customize the buttons and the backgrounds. For launching the games, there are two options, the game rooms and Retroarch emulators. From the game rooms, you can quickly select the system and launch a game. But you shouldn't do it because the emulation quality here is just awful. The image is distorted and the pixels are uneven. And you have no custom settings also. There's a few video filters, but they won't change much. The Retroarch emulators though is a different story. Here you can customize your settings to have the best image possible. On the performance, it can run games up to the Dreamcast, but some games might have slowdowns. With the newest system update, there's a few interesting options. But the best of them is the quick shutdown. With this option enabled, you can quickly shut down the system with a single touch. Since the system is completely turned off, it won't drain your battery. And when you turn it on again, it will resume the game exactly from the point where you left. This was one of the best things from the RG Nano, and I'm glad to see it here too. There's just one problem with this new update. Whenever you launch a game, the image will be fully stretched. You can change the settings, but when you leave the game and come back to it, all the settings will be reset. But the good news is that I figured a workaround for this. All you have to do is open the system SD card, go to Anbernic, Bezels, and open the default .cfg on a notepad. Then you want to put a hashtag on this option. This will disable this line of code. Then go to the bezel settings, and here you have two options. If you leave on automatic, you will have bezels on every emulator, but the scaling of the image will be slightly different. Leaving the bezels in the manual setting will let you customize it however you want. And this time, if you quit the game, your settings will be saved. And here's the best options for video shaders. It will give you a CRT-like image with perfect pixels. After finishing your configurations, you can save the directory preset. And you must have integer scale set to on. If you want to disable it, you will have to select this other shader. With these options, the image will fill the whole screen. But you'll have a few horizontal artifacts. They are very subtle, but you can definitely see it in a screen with a plain color. All of the other shaders are not usable. For Game Boy Color, you can just select the LCD 1X filter. Alternatively, you can remove the shaders and use this video filter. This will mimic the old DMG Game Boy. For Game Boy Advance, you must have integer scale set to off. If you enable it, you'll have huge black borders. But again, with the LCD 1X filter, the uneven pixels are barely noticeable. Now, this console is capable of outputting the image to a TV. It won't mirror the image during gameplay, so you have to leave it and go back to the main menu. Now it launched the game, but notice that the image is distorted. It will always do that when you mirror the image to a screen. So the best workaround is to mess with the video scaling options. Now you have a good 4x3 image and you can play normally. But when you remove the console and want to play on handheld mode, the image is like this. So you'll have to go to the menus again and restore the settings back to normal. This is a big drawback from the system. And this didn't happen with the 353P. Whenever you play it on a TV, the image is always scaled correctly. The system has Bluetooth, which is perfect for playing on the TV, but the process of connecting a controller is just very slow and painful. And when the controller is connected, it seems to be working, so you can select a system and play a game. But if you notice here, the controller is set as player 2. The player 1 is actually the handheld itself. So you have to press menu on the handheld. And now the Bluetooth controller can't control the menus. You must then use the handheld to go to these settings here, and enable these two options. Now you can control the menus through the controller, and you must remap the controller to the player 1. Now you can play the game normally, but let's say you want to quit the game and select another, you just won't be able to quit the game or open the menu here. You must press the button on the handheld, and since the controller is player 1, the button combo to quit the game won't work. So you must open the menu on the handheld and use the controller to quit the game. It is just a mess. And again, this was much better on the 353P. It automatically detects the controller and connects to it. And when it's connected, all you have to do is select it as player 1 on the menu. You can play your games right away, and the home button works as the menu key. You can enable fast forward and other combos, or quit the game. Moving to the Teardown, this device has a battery of 3300 milliamps. And here's the rumble motor. The sticker on the top is the Wi-Fi antenna, and it's very interesting. It makes contact with the Wi-Fi chip through these pins here. Here's the other side of the board, and the display cable is very large. All of the contacts for the buttons are golden, and looking at the buttons under the membrane reveals that these buttons can be swapped. And here's a look at the Dpad. In the end, after all of those headaches, I still recommend the 35XX Plus, and here's why. If you consider all of the pros and cons, you will see that this handheld sits in the perfect sweet spot between the cost-benefit and performance. While the 353P offers the most polished experience and more performance, it is double the price of the 35XX Plus. In the end, it's up to you to decide if the problems I've shown in this video are a deal breaker for you or not. And there is a light at the end of the tunnel. Anbernic can make software updates to improve the user experience with this device. If there's any relevant updates, I'll make a new video. Now I want to read your thoughts on the 35XX Plus. Do you plan to pick one for yourself? Leave your opinions in the comments. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.